First of all, good morning. Y'all could do better than that. Good morning. Feels almost like a homecoming of sorts. I'm so excited to be here, but I don't have a lot of time, so let's get to work. So thousands of years ago, there was a man walking down the road. Now, as he was walking down the road, maybe he was going to the Coca-Cola Leadership Summit, maybe he was going to Midtown, I don't know where he was going, but he was walking down the road. And as he was walking, he was ambushed. He was left to die. They took his horse, they took his money, they took his clothes, they left him almost naked, left stranded on the side of the road. And as he was pining for his life, a priest came by, and the priest saw the man, but the priest had to get to church, so he left the man on the side of the road. And then a politician walked by. Maybe he was a 23-year-old politician from Stockton, California, but some politician walked by and said, maybe this man chose to be on the side of the road, or maybe this man is supposed to be on the side of the road, and that's just his lot in life. So the politician kept it moving. But then finally a good Samaritan or a good Coke scholar came by and saw the man on the side of the road, got off his or her high horse, rolled up their sleeves, used their brains, created nonprofits, created some social entrepreneurship, enterprise, gave him fresh food, put him in the Westin, and made sure the man was on his way. And I always, in speaking with the audiences, share the story of the Good Samaritan because there are a lot of lessons there. And back before I was elected, I thought the Good Samaritan paradigm was the way to go. I thought that was the key to social change. Everyone, each one, reach one, everyone doing what they can. But now as a 9-month-old elected official, I realized that the Good Samaritan paradigm is not going to cut it. And it was a hard realization for me because I understand I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for Good Samaritans, whether it was people and programs. It was people like Carolyn Norton and J. Mark Davis and Aaron Chadbourne that mentored me when I was a high school senior and helped me get through Stanford University. It was programs like WIC and Pell Grants and welfare that made sure I had the nutrition I needed when I was growing up. It's all these Good Samaritan impulses that motivated me in college to do very similarly. Start the Phoenix Scholars, start the Summer Success and Leadership Academy, start all these things that had these Good Samaritan impulses that are about helping people and doing all I can. But Stockton, America, has a lot of problems. In Stockton, 45% of all Latino families and 47% of all African-American families live on $35,000 a year or less. That's less than what it costs to put on this conference. That's almost as much as a scholarship I got from Coke. In Stockton, California, and in America, 86% of African-American children, 83% of Latino children, and 58% of white children aren't proficient in reading or math in 4th, 8th, or 12th grade. In America, every 30 seconds, a child is born into poverty. So the Good Samaritan impulse is good and it makes us feel good, but to me that paradigm is not enough. Because if you look at the story, the Good Samaritan, he got off his horse, he helped the man, but he didn't do the hard work of asking why was this man on the side of the road. Because for those of you that have been to Israel, you know that the Jericho Road is a road that's almost structured for violence. That this Jericho Road is a narrow road. It's meandering, that it's conducive for ambushing. So while the Good Samaritan did something good with helping that one man, using my imagination, I figured maybe a week later, a month later, there was another man on the side of the road. And then the next day, there's probably another man on the side of the road. And then the next day, there's probably another man on the side of the road because no one stopped to think about why and how was this road structured so that some people are left on the side of the road. So on my flight here, I was reading Mountains Beyond Mountains. I'm about Dr. Paul Farmer. And Dr. Paul Farmer had this interesting idea about this thing called structural violence. He said that, and I was like, what does that mean? So being a nerd, I had to Google it, and it goes back to a peace theorist named Goldtang who said that structural violence is the avoidable impairment of basic human needs. And Paul Farmer took that thought further and postulated that structural violence is the cause for a lot of inequalities we see. That it's not that people in poor neighborhoods want to be violent, it's that it's structured for violence. It's not that, in an example that really stuck with me is he talked about kids in neighborhoods with gun violence, a narrative that's far too common in Stockton. And he said, well, that's an avoidable impairment of basic human needs. Kids need safety. Kids need security. Kids don't need to hear gunshots at night, and that is avoidable. So Dr. Farmer and Goldstein challenges me to think more clearly about the paradigms I've been using, because in Stockton, for the first 9 months, I've been trying to be a good Samaritan for my city, a good Stocktonian. Kids are at risk, don't have parents, so we started a mentorship program for the most at-risk kids. A good program, but we can't serve all the kids. There's 35,000 kids in the school district. We only have capacity to serve 100. A lot of Stocktonians are coming out of prison, and I worked with the California Wellness Foundation. We got a $500,000 grant to employ 50 of them with jobs. And those make me feel good. Those are good things, but the underlying structures are still in place. So I think my problem with the Good Samaritan is that he didn't understand the difference between charity and justice. The difference between charity and justice. Because charity is what I did. It's what got me the Coca-Cola scholarship. It's what I did. And it's not bad. It's good. Charity is social services. Charity is programs. Charity is Band-Aids. But it feels good. It's nonprofit work. It's amazing. It's important. It's so needed. But charity is also individual in a way. Charity is about what I can do. But we have to move towards justice. We have to look at why is our society structured in some ways that we can reliably predict that a black boy or a Latino boy born in 2001 has a 1 in 3 and 1 in 6 chance of going to jail. What structurally is there in Stockton that someone in my zip code can expect to live 15 years less than someone in a more affluent zip code 10 minutes away? And it's not because of choices they're making. It's because where they happen to be born. It's because of this idea of structural violence. And I think the difference between charity and justice is most clearly explained in the difference between inspiration and empowerment. So oftentimes I get calls from schools like, Tubbs, I need you to come inspire my kids. And I say, I don't, those kids don't, they're like, I need you to inspire my kids to get A's and to go to college and to be like you. And I say, I don't think these kids need to be inspired not to be poor. I don't think these kids need to be, I don't think they need to be inspired not to hear gunshots at night, to go to school hungry. What they need is empowerment. They need the tools. They need someone to work with them and not for them. And that's another difference between charity and justice. Charity is me doing something for a community. Justice is me working with the community to address the underlying root and structural causes to bring about really sustainable social change. So as I prepare to close, I just want to first of all say thank you for the amazing work you are already doing across sectors, across this nation, and across the world. It is so needed and so important. But as an elected official in a city that had back-to-back years of record homicides, the largest municipality before Detroit to declare bankruptcy, I'm going to challenge you and say so much more is needed. We need you guys to work for justice in whatever field you are. We need you to stop asking the what question and ask the why question, then use your brains, use your talents, and use your network to bring about a real sustainable change. Because I think if I was a Good Samaritan, and maybe my job was to work for the Jericho Road nonprofit of the World Association thingy, if I would get tired after time and year after year and day after day of helping one person get to the hotel and helping one person get off the road, knowing that next week, next year, tomorrow, the same thing is going to happen again. And I think Tupac would probably disagree with me. I love Tupac because Tupac has this poem celebrating this rose that grew from concrete. And he said, have you heard of the rose that grew from the crack in the concrete, proving nature's laws wrong and learn to walk without having feet? Funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams and learn to breathe fresh air. Am I going too fast? Funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams, and learn to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from the concrete when no one else cares. And Tupac had that same Good Samaritan impulse in that emphasizing individualism, exceptionalism, and this idea of meritocracy. Because I was going to give a talk where I just talked about growing up in poverty and my dad being in jail my entire life and my mom having me at 16 and my cousin dying 3 years ago, which motivated me to run for city council, being murdered 3 years ago, which motivated me to run for city council. And that would have been a great story. I'm sure it would have been great, but I think we spend too much time celebrating roses that grow from concrete or people like the Good Samaritans without thinking, why is there concrete in the first place? Why are roses supposed to grow out of concrete? Why did this rose have to grow from concrete? Why was my dad in prison? Why was my mom poor? Why did I go to a failing school? And I think too much celebration of exceptionalism, although needed and inspirational agency is so important, it's not sufficient to bring about sustainable change. And until we think structurally, until we have a justice versus charity mindset, we're going to have the same conversations over and over and over about the problems in the world. But I know here at the Coca-Cola in Atlanta with the smartest people in the world that the solutions, justice-oriented solutions, are here. So as I prepare to close, please don't clap, but I would rather you use your hands to continue doing the charity work you're doing, but more importantly, use your hands to reach out and touch another Coke scholar and build a movement for real, sustainable social change and justice. Thank you.